Something is happening in the grocery aisles of Canada. Something quiet, something calculated, something that whispers of a retail landscape transforming before our very eyes. Across neighborhoods from Vancouver to Toronto, from small towns in Manitoba to communities in Nova Scotia, familiar grocery store signs are coming down. Not with fanfare or headlines, but with liquidation notices taped to windows and shelves slowly emptying like sand through an hourglass. This isn't a story about one chain making a strategic decision. This is about an industry-wide reckoning that's reshaping how Canadians buy their groceries. The patterns are emerging from the economic data with startling clarity. Research tracking store openings and closures across Canada reveals that closures are now outpacing openings in the retail sector. Food prices in Canada have surged by nearly 30% over the past 5 years, squeezing both consumers and retailers caught in an impossible vice. While shoppers hunt for bargains and skip their regular grocery runs, the stores themselves are bleeding from razor-thin profit margins, skyrocketing operating costs, and a customer base that's learned to do more with less. The golden age of the neighborhood grocery store is fading, replaced by something leaner, more aggressive, and decidedly less forgiving. Before we dive into which chains are closing and why, if you want to stay informed about the economic shifts reshaping Canada, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. These stories don't make the evening news, but they're changing the landscape of every neighborhood across this country. Now, let's uncover what's really happening to your local grocery stores. Let's start with Canada's largest grocer and a bold experiment that just crashed and burned. Loblaw Companies launched 3 ultra-discount no-name stores across Ontario in September 2024, promising Canadian savings of up to 20% on everyday essentials. These weren't your typical grocery stores. They stripped away refrigeration, limited product selection to just 1,300 items, operated shorter hours, and eliminated weekly flyers. The concept was simple: slash operating costs, pass savings to desperate shoppers, and capture market share from discount giants like Walmart and Costco. By October 2025, 2 of the 3 locations were permanently closed. The St. Catharines store shuttered in July. The LaSalle location near Windsor followed in October. Only the Brockville store remains, a lonely survivor of an ambitious gamble that miscalculated Canadian shopping behavior. Retail analysts point to a fundamental flaw. Canadians, especially those stretched thin by inflation, don't want to visit multiple stores to complete their shopping. They want convenience, selection, and yes, those refrigerated items no-name stores couldn't offer. The closures signal something deeper than a failed pilot project. They reveal how even Canada's largest grocers are struggling to find the formula that keeps customers walking through the door while keeping the lights on and the shareholders satisfied. Section 3. Sobeys and the Western Exodus. Now shift your attention to Empire Company and its Sobeys banner, where store closures have become a recurring theme written in red ink across quarterly reports. After acquiring Safeway Canada for $5.8 billion in 2013, Sobeys conducted what they called a detailed full review of their retail network. The results were brutal. 50 underperforming stores across Canada were marked for closure, with 60% of them concentrated in Western Canada. These weren't random closings. They were surgical cuts, removing stores that required excessive management attention and generated insufficient revenue to justify their existence. The closures didn't stop there. Throughout 2024 and into 2025, Sobeys continued pruning its footprint. The Leaside location in Toronto closed its doors in July 2024, reopening as a Farm Boy store. A Queensway location in Etobicoke is scheduled to close in November 2025, with plans for redevelopment into a massive residential tower complex. Foodland stores in Colborne and Little Britain shuttered after Sobeys decided not to renew leases or rebuild after fires. The pattern is unmistakable. Sobeys is retreating from markets where profitability remains elusive, focusing resources on fewer, stronger locations. Meanwhile, they're aggressively expanding their FreshCo discount banner, betting that Canadians' hunger for low prices will outlast their loyalty to traditional supermarket formats. The transformation reveals a company desperately trying to survive in a market where being merely adequate means being dead. Section 4. Safeway's slow fade. Safeway stores across Canada have been disappearing like morning fog, and the pace is accelerating. Once a dominant force in Western Canadian grocery retail, Safeway has become a case study in managed decline under Sobeys ownership. In 2018, 10 Safeway locations in British Columbia's Lower Mainland were targeted for closure, including stores in Vancouver's City Square and Point Grey, Burnaby's Lougheed Mall and Royal Oak, and Coquitlam's Sunwood Square. The company cited falling sales and changing customer demand, though union representatives called the timing suspicious, coming just as labor negotiations were set to begin. The closures reflect deeper structural problems plaguing the Safeway banner. Stores that once served as neighborhood anchors now struggle against fierce competition from Walmart, Costco, and ethnic supermarkets, offering specialized products at competitive prices. Sobeys has attempted conversions, turning some failed Safeway locations into Freshco discount stores, but many simply went dark. The brand that generations of Western Canadians grew up with is becoming a ghost, its familiar red and white logo fading from strip malls and shopping centers. Industry observers note that when Sobeys acquired Safeway, they inherited not just stores, but a legacy of deferred maintenance, aging infrastructure, and locations that made sense in the 1980s, but lack viability in today's brutally competitive market. The slow fade continues, one closure at a time, each one removing another piece of Western Canada's retail history. Section 5. Metro's Strategic Silence. Metro Inc. has managed to avoid the mass closure headlines that plague its competitors, but don't mistake silence for strength. Canada's third largest grocer is playing a different game, one focused on transformation rather than contraction. While competitors shutter stores and announce layoffs, Metro is investing heavily in automation and discount formats. They completed a 6-year, $1 billion supply chain modernization project in 2024, establishing automated distribution centers for fresh and frozen food across Quebec and Ontario. They're opening a dozen new discount stores in 2025, including conversions of existing full-service locations to their Super C banner in Quebec and Food Basics in Ontario. But transformation always comes with casualties. Metro closed its Ottawa Produce Distribution Center in late 2024, affecting 41 employees as part of facility modernization. A downtown Toronto Metro location was forcibly shut down in March 2025 after health authorities discovered a rat infestation and multiple health code violations. Individual store closures rarely make national news, but they signal the constant churn happening beneath the surface as Metro ruthlessly evaluates which locations deserve continued investment and which ones drain resources better deployed elsewhere. The company's strategy is clear: compete on price through discount formats, invest in technology to reduce costs, and never stop questioning whether each store location earns its place in the network. It's a cold calculation, but in a market where grocery profit margins hover around 3%, sentiment is a luxury few retailers can afford. Section 6. The Economic Reality. Here's what all these closures really mean, stripped of corporate euphemisms and restructuring jargon. The Canadian grocery market is experiencing a fundamental realignment driven by economic forces that show no signs of relenting. Grocery price inflation hit 2.4% in September 2024, higher than the overall inflation rate. The 2025 Food Price Report projects food costs will rise another 3 to 5% this year, driven by climate events, geopolitical risks, labor disputes, and shifting agricultural dynamics. Canadians are responding by changing their shopping behavior, trading down to discount formats, buying private label brands, and ruthlessly cutting unnecessary purchases. Meanwhile, grocery retailers face their own crisis. Operating costs are climbing faster than revenues. Property values for retail locations have soared, making it more profitable in some cases to sell the real estate than operate a struggling store. Competition from Walmart, Costco, dollar stores, and ethnic supermarkets has fragmented market share, making it harder for traditional grocers to maintain the economies of scale that once protected their margins. The shift to online grocery shopping requires massive technology investments that only the largest players can afford. Research data shows retail store closures outpaced openings throughout 2024, with business activity in sectors dependent on consumer spending showing weakness. This isn't a temporary adjustment. This is the market sending a clear signal that Canadian grocery retail has too much capacity, too much competition, and too little differentiation. The stores that survive will be lean, technologically sophisticated, and laser-focused on value. The rest will become empty buildings waiting for redevelopment, their shelves stripped bare, their lights dark, their parking lots empty, save for the memories of thousands of shopping trips that once sustained communities across this nation. So, there you have it. 10 major grocery chains and countless stores vanishing from Canadian communities, driven by forces that aren't slowing down. The question isn't whether more closures are coming, it's which stores in your neighborhood will be next. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening in Canada's retail landscape, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to see this. Drop a comment below and let me know. Have you noticed stores closing in your area? What's your local grocery scene looking like? And if you want more deep dives into the economic shifts most people aren't talking about, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next investigation. The story of Canada's changing economy isn't over, it's just getting started. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.